Welcome to the Reticle Up podcast, where I, 3-Gun Kenzie, will be interviewing competitive shooters, hunters, fishermen, archers, entrepreneurs, and outdoorsmen. Come learn with me as I interview people from all walks of life, in different disciplines, all across the world, from novices to professionals of all ages. No matter what, everyone has something they can teach you, so come join me on the journey. Welcome back to the Reticle Up podcast. I'm here with Austin Hull. He's a former Marine Corps Reserve shooting team member, firearms instructor, and he's a competitive shooter who's been shooting since junior years and still is as an adult. So Austin, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm excited. And where are you joining us from?
I live in Reno, Nevada, Sparks, Nevada, but it's the same city basically.
So much fun out there though. Like that's what the dreamland for firearms.
It is. I used to live in California, which you can make fun of all you want, but there's actually a ton of matches in California, especially where I was from. And moving up here, I have access to all that. I have access. It's a 7-hour drive down to Vegas and about 8.5 down to St. George, Utah. There's a ton of matches. And what's really nice about Nevada is there's only really 2 places that are populated. It's Vegas and here. So the flights back and forth to Vegas are like $100, and from Las Vegas you can get anywhere in the country. So for a couple $100 I could fly to Texas and Utah, or Arizona, and all those places.
Yeah, and people don't know, like, Utah's a hotbed. Newer shooters, they're not even aware. Like Justine Jalise came out of there, right? Like they're big deal. That's pretty cool. And you go to SHOT Show, I'm sure.
I do, not usually on my own recognizance because I'm kind of asked to go, but it's fun. I've taken a habit of the last couple of years just going like the last 2 days, which is nice because you get to see everyone, but you're not like, I feel people treat SHOT Show like an endurance event. Like at the end, they're like, oh, I only got 9 hours of sleep. You got 11 hours of sleep. Like, it's like, I go down there on vacation. I take days off work. Like, no, I'm going to go out, have some good food because it's Vegas, have a couple of drinks, see some people, and then go to bed. I don't want to stay up until 4 o'clock in the morning to go to the show at 8. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
I loved my first year at SHOT Show. I think I did go to bed one morning at 6 a.m. It was great.
For sure.
Awesome. All right. Well, we digress, but I had to know all of that.
Sure.
So, okay, you start shooting at 5 years old, which is quite early compared to a lot of competition shooters. What do you remember about those early years of shooting?
I remember everything weirdly because my old house in California, we had a glass, kind of traditional glass front gun case.
Yeah.
It was always locked, which childhood safety, good thing, right? But I remember there were 7 slots and there were 8 guns in there. And one of them was this little 22 rifle that was just sitting on the side of another gun. And my dad only took out one of the guns once to go hunting or something. And one of them started to rust, so he took it out and cleaned it. But when I was a little kid, I never touched guns. And then my next door neighbor, very good family friends with, owned a ranch. He said, well, come on out and we'll go explore and ride 4-wheelers and do all that fun stuff.
Cool.
Unbeknownst to me, my dad had pulled out that 22 rifle and we went out and you're a kid, you don't really know what's going on. So your dad loads it up and kind of points it at the stump and says, here, pull the trigger.
Yep. And
I remember that very, very vividly. We were shooting at a log in a lake, which is a terrible idea. Never do that. But I remember it really vividly. And then I still have that rifle, which is awesome. I love that thing.
Yeah.
And that's really where I learned, iron sights. That was the first gun I took out and I shot with pretty much everyone because it's something I'm so familiar with and it brings back a lot of really cool memories.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's like a good heirloom too.
Yeah, it was fun.
So neat. So 22 obviously is where you started, like you said. What progression of guns did you go through though, like growing up? Like what was your next? Do you remember how you progressed?
I only shot a couple of times before I took my hunter safety course.
Okay.
And my dad, my brother, and I all took it. And my brother really had never had a interest in firearms, but my mom said, well, if you guys are going to go take it, take your brother, because there's guns in the house and it's a good idea. And we all took it. And I think my brother and I are twins. So
so cool.
We were probably 8. And I was super proud because I scored the highest out of all the students, including the adults, on the little stupid written test to get my hunter safety license.
Including the adults. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Because it's so true.
And then like 2 or 3 months later, every year, the people who would host the hunter safety course would do a shoot. So they bring out all these guns and all this ammo. This is back, this was, early 2000s.
Yeah.
And we went out and we shot. So I shot 22s, 22 mags, 1.223 bolt action rifle, which when I was, when you're a kid, you think is huge.
Cool. Yeah.
And a 410 shotgun, which, you don't know how to point a shotgun. You don't hit anything with a 410. So we did that, but then, all the adults are shooting 12 gauge and 308 and 30-06. And you think it's just, it's a matter of scale. So when I was a kid, I thought it was, crazy. And now growing up, I shoot, 5.56 like it's easy.
It is. Yeah. Like it is a 22. I mean, when you build your own rifles, that's how they shoot.
Yeah. I mean, and it's a 22 caliber bullet, right? So,
yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people, I like that you mentioned that, don't realize how safe a lot of kids are. I know we're going to talk about that because it is powerful testament to how lazy sometimes we can get and how cocky we can get, right? Yeah,
absolutely. You get so many people that treat guns like they're like magic, where it's, I can't remember the Ash and the Evil Dead, and like, this is my boomstick. Like if you've never experienced it, you don't know what you're doing. But I used to work in gun shops, and I would always explain this thing to people who didn't really know about guns. The first time you got into a car and you drove, you're probably scared, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
You get behind the wheel and you have to look where you put the key in, and you have to grab your seatbelt and look where, but now you hop in your car, you put your seatbelt on, you don't even have to look where the key is, make sure your music's on. You don't even think about it.
Right.
But it's the same thing, right? As if you were trying to teach a 5-year-old how to drive a car, or a 5-year-old how to safely handle a gun, or anything, knives, stuff in the kitchen, tools, all these things are dangerous. But if I'm teaching someone how to do it in a safe way, or even just not even teaching them about what it is, but to respect what it is, that's probably the more important part, rather than, all right, well, this is how you make sure the gun's not loaded. Like, probably don't do that, but like, hey, this is what this is what needs to demand respect.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said that, and a gun is a tool, and that's across the board. Doesn't matter what age. Obviously, it's dangerous if you don't know how to use it. So we'll get into all that. I'm excited about it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So okay, you get a little bit older, and you got super into shooting trap, which is so much fun. So how old were you when you started that, and what guns did you finally work up to then? Not a 410.
No, definitely not. I actually don't own a 410, thank goodness, because they're terrible. I remember when I was like 10, I was obsessed with History Channel, because this is back when History Channel actually used to play history.
I still am though.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
And they had this show that was about exhibition shooters. So history, Annie Oakley and all these people. And now they were talking about the modern exhibition shooters, which the most famous one's Tom Knapp. They used to shoot for Benelli's, since passed away. But he was doing, throwing clays up in the air and shooting them with a shotgun, and, shooting shells out of his pump action shotgun and shooting them and stuff like that. And I saw that and was like, hey, that's really cool. And got shotguns. It's probably something I could go out and try. Thankfully, there was a trap range about 25 minutes from our house my dad found.
Oh, nice.
We went out and I shot my first ever round of American trap, just standard 5-station on like a Thursday night with a 20 gauge Beretta BL4, which I still own.
Oh, cool. Of course you do.
Of course. It was one of my grandpa's guns. I haven't sold any of those.
Good.
And I shot like a 16 out of 25.
Nice.
Turn my air off there. so it was like a 15 or 16 out of 25. And the girl who was working the front counter and was going around, putting clays in machines was one of the girls who was on the senior trap team.
Oh, cool.
I was like, oh, like how long have you shot? And like, I don't know, like 25 minutes. And, she's like, well, if I talked to my dad, if you think that'd be cool, come out and take a look.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out the coach lived in the same town we were from, super nice guy. So I just started shooting that. And I actually ended up shooting a borrowed gun from him for almost 2 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Still 20 gauge?
Oh, it was 12 gauge. It was a Remington.
Wow.
But it was way too big for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a common theme, which we'll probably talk about. But,
yes.
It was basically like, hey, this is my kid's old gun. Here, shoot this because we don't want you shooting 20 gauge. Because the 20 gauge was, common misconception. 20 gauges kick a lot more than most people think.
Yep.
And it was a light gun. So, here, you can barely hold this thing up, but that's good because it's going to kick less. So I shot that for a long time. And then my parents eventually bought me a gun.
That's awesome. A lot of people too, they think they gotta, go out and buy all the guns to get started. And like you said, you borrowed for 2 years. I remember Cowboy Action, I borrowed pistols for like a year.
Yeah.
I mean, people are willing to do that. So if you're just in the right place, right time, I'm sure someone's willing to help out, right?
And shotgun sports are really accessible.
Yeah.
Because it's not like 3-gun or USPSA like we shoot now. Like you don't need a
holster, right?
We don't need a $5,000 group of guns to go out and shoot a trap. You need, if your grandpa has a Remington 870, that'll work.
Yeah.
If, even if it's a single shot Sears and Roebuck 20 gauge, it'll work. It's not great, but it does the job. I mean, I shoot trap and sporting clays with my Stoger, and that was like 500.
Yep.
So, but then there's the exact opposite of the spectrum, which my trap gun now that I have was like $7,000. Yeah. So, I mean, everything's a spectrum, right? You can go out and you can get, even if you're an adult and you go, hey, I want to really try shooting trap, go buy an 870.
Yeah.
Because it's like $400. And even if you don't like shooting traps, stick a bunch of buckshot in it, stick it in your corner, and sound your home defense gun.
Exactly. Please don't go out and buy thousands of dollar guns. Then you probably maybe end up hating it. Then what?
And we saw that a lot when we would work at the gun shop. You get this person that comes in that's never had a gun before. Hey, I want this gun. Okay, cool. And they come back 2 weeks later. Oh, my wife said I can't have guns in the house. Or, hey, I bought this, but I really don't like it. Or, my truck just blew a tire. I need to go spend $1,000 on tires. Can I return this? You're like, that's not really how that works.
No. God, working at a gun store, I've never done that. I want to hear stories about that eventually.
There's plenty.
That's so cool. So, okay, but you ended up, did you actually end up shooting on a team for that, or like making medals? Like what happened with the trap shooting?
So yes, the short answer is yes. There's a program now. I think they've changed the name, but it was called the Scholastic Clay Target Program.
Okay.
Which I think they've expanded to do like Steel Challenge and rimfire matches and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But it's basically a youth trap organization, sporting clays and traditional American trap. So that was the group I was a part of.
Cool.
Some high schools actually have teams. I lived in a pretty liberal area, so my high school didn't have a team, but I was just, a kid on the team. Shot. So, it was organized between, rookie, whatever the intermediate one was, junior varsity and varsity. It was, basically kind of paralleled with your years through elementary school through high school.
So cool. So
I ended up obviously rookie team. I won one match or one shoot when I was on the intermediate team. And then I think my third or fourth year, I went up to the junior varsity team, and we did pretty well for 2 years when we were all together. 2009 was our best year. So there was this big match always in California, and it's like the week out. It was always cool because it was the week after school got out. So you go down there And that's like where I had my first beer, right? Like just high school stories.
Love it.
And, but it's like 1,000,000 degrees. And this is how different trap shooting is. I was shooting in shorts, a t-shirt or a white collared shirt, and flip-flops.
So you look like a golfer, essentially.
Yeah. And, shooting. And we knew we did pretty well, but we didn't know how well we had done. And they were calling the teams up the end. Third place, these people. Okay, well, we know we beat them. Second place, like these people. Okay, like they did pretty well. Like, we didn't know how well we had done. And unbeknownst to us, our parents had known we were winning.
Oh.
And they called us up like, hey, you guys won the state, because it was a combined score. Hey, you guys had won the state championship. Like, holy crap, that's so cool. There's probably 400 kids, 400 competitors.
Wow.
So a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then 18 days later, I was on a plane to Sparta, Illinois, to the World Shooting and Recreational Complex. And we competed in and actually won the national championship that year.
So cool.
That was a really, really, really cool time. It was the first time I had ever traveled to shoot. We had club members donating money and donating ammo for us to go out and shoot so we could practice.
Awesome.
And that's actually that state championship is where I met a guy from the reserve Army Marksmanship unit.
Okay.
So bringing back my my former job. Yeah. And at that point, the Marine Corps had disbanded its trap shooting team. He's like, hey man, just keep it up. They might bring it back. You never know, blah, 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 blah. And then, years later, which unfortunately they didn't bring it back, but it's kind of a good thing because trap gets pretty boring.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah. That's so cool. What does a trap team win? Like, do you get rings like the Super Bowl? Do you get
I wish. It's over in the corner. It's actually, which is weird because the state trophies were better than the national trophy. Because the state trophy is like this little acrylic pyramid looking thing that's got, 2009, blah, 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 blah. But the nationals, we just got like gold medals and then like one team trophy, which the coach kept because he's the coach.
Yeah.
So, so I have my little trophy thing and I've got a couple of, 3-gun trophies, but
that's so cool. It's so
not
cool.
like you win. It's not like the Olympics where you win, what an Olympic medalist get what? $30,000 or something like that.
Yeah, something big. I mean, yeah. So that's neat though. I want to know if there was anything there. And that trophy probably set off a lot of confidence too, in yourself, right?
Yeah. It definitely did. It was kind of weird because my twin brother is a very accomplished baseball player. He played D1 college baseball. So my dad would travel with me and my mom would travel with my brother.
Oh, neat. Okay.
And state championship, national championship, my mom and my brother were actually up at our vacation house in the Lake Tahoe. And I won. My dad and I flew back and my dad had to stay and work. So he put me on a train to come up to Tahoe to be with my mom and my brother for this summer. And he would travel back and forth. And it was weird because that was the first time for 6 months I didn't touch a gun. I had been shooting for couple of years, and we had shot a ton that summer to practice for the state and practice for the nationals. And I went up there and I didn't touch a gun for 4 or 6 months, and it was just weird.
Were you burnt out or just it happened that way?
A little bit of both. There wasn't really a trap range up here, so we can't really shoot up here anyway.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But then it was just the summer. It was, hang out and go to the lake and do all that stuff. And then when I went back for the fall, it was kind of like, all right, let's get this thing going again. And at that point, our team had kind of broken up and it never really clicked in to, repeat or anything like that. But it was still a good time.
Awesome. Your parents make a lot of sacrifices. I didn't know that. That's a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh my goodness. That's neat. Going back to what you were saying, the clubs and stuff, do you know of now what, clubs or shooting teams nowadays that juniors can join or how they can find that information?
The information's hard because I'm actually trying to find it myself. I haven't shot at an actual trap range in 4 years.
Oh, wow.
So I want to get back into it, and I want to get back into coaching a junior league of some kind,
Yeah.
but I can't find one. I know there's a club about a half hour away that I think has one, but they don't respond to Facebook messages. So one of these weekends I just have to go down to talk to someone, which is kind of a scary barrier to entry, especially for kids and stuff like that. I know that was kind of luck to have, the girl there from the team that was like, hey,
Yeah.
come in, check it out. So I know the Scholastic plays, it's SCTP is still a thing.
Mhm.
I know there's one other one that does the steel challenge matches and stuff like that.
SASP? SAS?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, they just had national, so I don't know what that stands for.
Okay. And then there's
Sorry,
there's Appleseed matches, which are more of like a precision 22 kind of thing. There's some other youth groups, some FFA or 4-H clubs have
Forgot about 4-H. Yeah.
shooting events, but they're not necessarily organized like state or national things.
Right.
Which is kind of weird because, I mean, shooting is an Olympic event. We all saw people who won Olympic gold medals the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Which I've fortunately been in an area that I've met several Olympic medal winners, including Kim Rode,
she's amazing.
She is amazing. She's the most prolific Olympic shooter, I believe, of all time.
Yep.
Notwithstanding the fact that she's a female. She's an awesome person. She actually lives in California, which is weird.
Most of the cool people are out there.
Yeah. And it's, a lot of these other sports, football, baseball, soccer, you can do it in school, and you can go all the way up, whether you're going to become an Olympian or a professional, or you go to the European League or play in Australia or whatever. You can't really do that with shooting. It basically has to be, I think it's kind of like golf or riding horses. A lot of people see it as like a rich man's sport.
Yeah.
Because unless your dad or your uncle does it, you don't really get into it. How do you get into, oh, hey, I want to ride a horse. Like, okay, I'm going to go spend 50 grand on this horse and then $1,000 a month to keep it alive. I mean,
Sorry, I essentially did that though. I was in college and I Googled, and Florida State had a team, and I joined the team. Then I went into Steel Challenge and USPSA and bought all the guns.
Yep.
And it was really difficult. Like, that's not something you need a mentor, you need a team. But then essentially it's why I moved to Tennessee too, is because there was no 3-gun, there's no USPSA. I was like, why am I living here when this is my passion? You have to move.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I mean, like you said, college. I know Texas A&M has a team.
UT does as well.
Yep. Most of the big military technical schools do.
Yeah.
Obviously the academy schools do. And then most people get their backgrounds from, like I said, family members or the military and law enforcement. Mm-hmm. So, I was in the military and I took up shooting, and now I want to, go do this or that. But really that's kind of the biggest barrier to entry. We talked a little bit about cost.
Yep.
There are shooting competitions that don't cost a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
There are shooting competitions where it costs essentially no money. You can go out and shoot air rifles that cost, $10 for a thing of pellets that big that'll last you for the whole year.
Yeah.
But how do you get into it? Especially in places like Colorado, California, especially Southern California,
mm-hmm.
Even, rural or not, non-rural places in Florida are pretty blue. And a kid coming into school talking about, oh, I'm, shooting guns on the weekend. I got told after I won the nationals that I shouldn't talk about it because it was about guns.
And that's back then. Like, think about how bad it is now.
I was like, well, find another kid in this school that has a national championship at a sport, and then we can go ahead and talk, because no one else does. They're like, oh, well, it's you just got to be careful. Like, just a sport.
Right. Yeah, it is. So okay, going back to, how would a junior though then get involved if they want to shoot? Like, is there any way for them, if they didn't have a uncle, brother, cousin, dad, mom that could do it? Are there any people or programs, or I don't know?
So I would say find one of those teams, find the SCTP or the the junior club or the 4-H, even if you're not a member of the 4-H program or, whatever it might be, just express interest. And as you know, the shooting community is very generous. And even if they don't know, say like, hey, I don't know, but my buddy knows a guy whose kid shoots for blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of juniors who shoot in 3-gun and USPSA and things like that. So I think we're pretty lucky with things like practice score. You can go search on practice score and find, even if it's not, a sport you're necessarily interested in, go out and watch, take as a, obviously this, we're talking about more of a parental thing. Take your kids out and watch a match, or take them to the trap range and say, hey, like this is a thing. You don't just have to play soccer or baseball or cheerleading or something like that. Like,
yeah,
there are other things out there. How do you get into these things if you don't know they exist?
Yep. And like the other recommendation I would say too is go to the kids' short sporting events too. There's some colorful language, a little bit, there's, but legit, like, I mean, I just worked Steel Challenge Area 4 match. Those kids are more safe gun handling wise than adults. Like I would turn my back on the kids if I wanted to, and I'd be like, yeah, they're fine. It's amazing. It's really cool.
And that's one of those things that really breeds, professionalism, especially in kids, is I learned so much from shooting that applies to both my military career and what I do shooting now. Like,
yeah,
I never knew what being mentally tired was until I was focused, doing the same thing 100 times.
Yep.
And the only way to be perfect is to do it exactly the same 100 times. And I got in the truck, and my dad was driving home, and I just passed out. And I woke up like pulling into the driveway of my house. I was just like, I didn't do anything. Like, trap isn't hard. It's not like you have to, like, you're not running, you're not lifting weights, but I was so worn out by doing one thing. And I think that's not a thing not a lot of people recognize,
Oh yeah.
There's, all these sports are, action packed. You get dumps of adrenaline, if you're hitting a baseball or, football, you get tackled, you get that adrenaline dump. You don't really get that a lot in a shooting sport like trap. So you have to be so dead set on one thing. And I think that really played to where I was in my life then. Now I can't focus on anything. It's terrible.
Oh, that's awesome. For trap though, what was like your favorite part of shooting trap? Was it the mental stuff?
No, it definitely wasn't. I think it goes back to a lot of stuff. It was just the people, we had our team, but I would go to different cities and different states throughout the United States, and it's this one big community. I would see people that I would only ever see at one match every year. And like, hey, what's up, man? How you been? It's good to see you. And we're kids at that point. But now, as adults, you bring it into SHOT Show. There's people I only see once a year at SHOT.
Right.
And I'll go shake their hand, give them a hug. We'll go have drinks. And then I'll see them for 4 days and won't see them again for a year. But then the next year, we'll do the same thing over again.
Yep. Or there's people that you see at every single match and you're like, buddy, we travel too much.
Yeah, for sure. That is true. You get the people that you see over and over and over again, but then those are the people that they could be on a different team and your gun goes down and they'll give you your, the loaner gun.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, my buddy AJ's in a different state, and I swear to God, we went to World Speed Shoot, a USPSA match through, and like all this, it was back to back. It was kind of funny. I was like, this is kind of bad.
It's funny how that works.
And he's married, so he's got a lot more problems. I think kids, like, I don't know how you're doing as much as I'm doing,
For sure.
Pick up and leave.
No,
go ahead.
That's another thing I see a lot is you get that jump. So I shot all the way up until I graduated high school. And then I joined the military, and I didn't really shoot for like 2 years because I had a job and I got into, relationships, and I, was trying to buy a car, and, going out and spending a whole weekend dumping a bunch of money when I could be working, or I could go spend a bunch of money on something that I probably won't win. Like, yeah, it's really easy when, I'm a kid living at home and I can, come home and my mom's going to make me a sandwich and I can go in the garage and, dry fire. It's easy.
No, I know. I know juniors have a little bit of a stigma, which we'll get into, but we do, my friends and I, we do joke. It's like, dude, they have their parents that can feed them and give them drinks and pay their bills and drive them around. And like, all they have to worry about is school, really. I mean, they have no idea what it's like on the outside pressures that we say that we don't bring to matches, but we do.
Oh, totally.
We do.
Sure. Yeah.
We digressed, Ian, but okay, going back to last thing on trap.
Yeah.
Oh, and I thought you were going to say reset. Reset's easy, right?
Well, with trap, yeah, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, you do nothing. Get into trap shooting if you're that person.
Yeah.
What would you recommend gun-wise for people who are interested in trap, like you said, Stoger or something else, over, under? Like, what do you like to shoot?
I have a very expensive gun, which is a combo. So it's got a single barrel and a double barrel. They're both, weighted. So they're the same. The gun swings the same. The gun was fit to me. So, how I bring the gun up and how it, nothing's a perfectly straight line with your body. So all these different things, but that's a very, very high end. I think we're really lucky right now because there's a couple of really good guns for not a ton of money. My number one recommendation, I like break open guns because they're more controlled.
Yeah.
Pump guns and semi-autos, you have to worry about a couple of different things. One, safety. You always have to keep the gun open, which with a pump gun or semi-auto is a little bit more difficult because as the coach, I'm standing back here watching 5 kids walk around with guns. So like, hey, that gun's a break open. I can see it's broken open.
Right.
Even if there's a shell in there, it doesn't matter. It can't go bang. But he's got a semi-auto. I can't see from the back whether the bolt's forward or not.
Yeah.
So I prefer break open guns. They shoot a little bit softer, but that's a personal preference. My personal recommendation would be just general advice, get the heaviest gun that you can hold because it's going to recoil less. Obviously, get something you like the looks of, get something that you like the ergonomics of, because if you don't like it, you're not going to shoot it.
Yeah.
But
camo.
Yeah, definitely. But once again, it works. If you go to Big Five and they've got a sale on the,
Yep.
the Woodland Camo 870 and it's $100 off, buy it.
Yeah.
Because it'll, you can go out and buy some ammo with that saved money.
Yep.
But CZ, Ruger makes a couple of good break open guns that aren't a ton of money. There's all the imported ones. So you've got, all these imported from Turkey, a couple of guns from the Philippines that you can get you can get pump guns from the Philippines that are imported by ArmScore for like literally $200.
That's awesome.
And yeah, it doesn't look super cool and nice and finished, but it works. Kind of the same thing with the guns coming out of Turkey and things like that. A couple $100 will get you a gun. You go up a little bit, you can get into the CZ break open guns. Some of those are really nice and they're $700-800. Ruger makes some guns. Browning still makes break open guns, which are more expensive, but you get more out of them, right? It's kind of, everything's a trade-off.
Yep.
And then you get into the $5,000 guns.
So a lot of people don't know what shotgun fitting means. So I do want to talk about that. I think that's a big education point. People don't understand stock distance and their cheek weld and anything like that. So can you talk about the pieces that people need to look at or modify or get fitted for from a professional?
Yeah, definitely. So everyone's used to rifles, right? You put the rifle up and you move your head and you move your eye and you align the sights. When the sights are aligned, you pull the trigger. You don't do that with a shotgun. I aim a rifle or a pistol, I point a shotgun. So it's the difference between, it's a kind of a hard way to describe it. It's the difference between using a set of sights and literally just swinging your whole body.
Mm-hmm.
So if I get a gun, generic off the box gun, it's going to have zero measurement. It's going to be a perfectly straight line. So if I bring the gun up, it might look perfect to me, but I might have the gun pointed slightly down or up or left or right. So you can have a lot of these generic guns, Remington 870s and Mossberg 500s, doesn't really matter because you're shooting, cans out in the desert, things like that. But when you're shooting at flying objects, whether it be birds or clays, the way your body moves changes that. So you can adjust the cant and the cast and the comb and all these different things. So, the gun might be lined up like this, but the stock needs to be slightly this way or slightly that way or higher or lower to change where you want your eye to be looking the exact place the barrel's going.
Yeah.
So when I bring the gun up, if I'm looking, at the flag behind you and I point it right in the middle, I pull the trigger and it's 5 inches to the right. You move the stock a little bit, you move it up, you pull the trigger again, and it's dead on.
Pretty cool.
But that's one of those things that it's not an exact science.
Yeah.
You basically have to go to someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And if you're just trying to get into it, you want to go out and shoot a couple times a year with your buddies, it really doesn't matter. But if you're going to be getting, once again, you're getting into these more expensive guns, you're getting to more, trying to do it more and more, you're going to go out every week and do it. Mm-hmm. That's really something you definitely want to take a look at, because eventually you're either going to build bad habits trying to do something to adjust to the gun,
right? Or
you're going to frustrate the hell out of yourself and you're going to quit.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is what a lot of people do, unfortunately.
Yep. It's the same thing with archery. I mean, you got to get a pro to fit you.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't realize that. So that's pretty cool that you shared that. The other thing too is patterning your shotgun, knowing chokes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
A lot
Which gets into action shooting too. A lot of people don't know a pattern is 3-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
So, I can shoot a 3 foot by 3 foot cardboard box in it. That nice and even. But if I'm swinging the gun, then it spreads out. Yep. So, what does your pattern look like when it's moving? It's a lot easier to hit a target with a shotgun when it's sitting still than when it's moving.
I love it. And barrel length. We won't get too far into the weeds, but there's so much. But I love shotguns. They're my favorite guns in the world. So I want to talk about that.
Do it.
Yeah. So going back to junior shooting, what was it like being a junior shooting as far as like expectations versus reality?
For me, it wasn't anything crazy. It was something I had played, my brother played baseball. That was what he fell in love with. But, we were kind of the typical, you'd go and play at the YMCA little league with, you'd go play indoor soccer and, basketball and baseball and little league and all these different things. And it just wasn't something that I was interested in. Yeah. So, I tried everything. I played volleyball for 1 year in elementary school. I liked it, but I wasn't necessarily really good at it. It just wasn't something I was passionate about. I wouldn't want to go out and practice playing volleyball. It's fun, but when I started shooting, it was something that I really took a kin to. Now my cat's gonna start making noise. And I think that was kind of just something my parents really were supportive of. Like, hey, he's found his thing. Let's let him do that, which I can't thank my parents enough for, because you get a lot of people that, no, you're going to play volleyball because I played volleyball and your brother plays volleyball, or you're going to play football because I sucked at it when I was in high school and you're going to be good at it. You talk about Tiger Woods' dad making him hit, 1,000 golf balls a day, talking about all these crazy things that people do to their kids. And I was fortunate enough that it was just a fun thing. Obviously, I became pretty proficient at it, mm-hmm. but it was a thing that I never really did, or was never really shown to do for clout. It wasn't something that I was going to be, pressured to do, other than my own personal pressure, which when I was a kid, I didn't really have too much of. I beat myself a lot more now than when I was a kid, because when I was a kid, it was like you said, it was, I'm going to come home and my mom's going to make me a sandwich. And if I'm going to go shooting, awesome, it's going to be fun. But, now I have to go spend my own money to do it. Mm-hmm. and I'm just going to go piss myself off at the range. So, but when on the team, there were definitely those kids that, you know, their parents spent a lot of money, and a lot of time,
pressure on them,
and it's definitely more common for that to happen in junior shooting. You know, you get these people that have idyllic dreams of going to the Olympics and stuff like that, and you think it's hard to become a professional baseball player. It's talk about trying to get into the Olympics. That's like cult-like stuff. And it's, you know, I got offered to try out for some of these teams, and it gets pretty weird pretty quick.
What does weird mean? Get pretty weird pretty quick.
Cat here.
For those listening, attacking the cat.
Trigger discipline. Like I said, it was almost like a cult. It was to the point of like, hey, you got here perfect, but now we're going to teach you the way we want you to do it.
Oh.
It was just, you know, it's basically, if you have the money and you want to drink the Kool-Aid, you can do it. And you don't even necessarily have to be the best to do it. You got to fit into the system.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we see that kind of with some of the stuff which happens to some of these Olympic teams. You know, you get, you know, unfortunately, people being assaulted and being, you know, forced into things they don't want to do. And
oh yeah, more and more.
It can become pretty bad.
Yeah. Oof. Well, moving on from that. We'll still talk about being a junior shooter, though. I think we touched on it a little bit earlier. So, you know, I've been to all these matches all over the country, and I've even taught with a 12-year-old before, and I see really good gun handling, finger off the trigger, muzzle discipline. They wait for the commands, right? They're waiting for you, knowing like, hey, if I mess up, you know, it's a big deal. But there's this massive like social stigma too that kids face, right? When people are talking to them and they don't take them seriously, right?
Yeah.
How did you overcome all of that?
I was actually thinking about this question earlier, and it's funny because this wasn't when I was a kid, but it was when I was working in a gun shop. I was
my favorite places. Go ahead.
Yeah. It was me. I was probably 21, 22. And this other guy, Jim, who was a Vietnam Air Force veteran, and our manager, who's this little short 5'2" girl, actually. And someone would come in, ask me a question, blah, 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 all these different things. And I'm, you know, giving them answers, giving them advice. And then they'd look over at Jim because he's the guy, he should know all these things. And one day Jim was doing something else and he looks over and he goes, I don't know why you're looking at me. The kid's right. And the guy's like, oh, okay. But it, like you were just talking about, you get these people that, you know, oh, kid doesn't know what he's doing.
Yep.
The kid's going to do something unsafe. And most of those activities, especially the unsafe parts, comes from bad teaching, not lack of teaching, but bad teaching, usually on the behalf of the parents, because, you know, my grandpappy taught me how to shoot a gun. I'm going to teach you how to shoot a gun. And they don't really know what they're doing. And then the kid starts doing something that's unsafe. So getting a kid into, even if it's a hunter safety course, I always recommend people take hunter safety courses, even if they don't want to go hunt, because it's so step by step. It's made for me to teach literally children how to be safe.
Yep.
So, you know, like my dad did, take your kid out and go take him to a hunter safety class, because even if you don't like guns, in 10 years and you're walking down the street and there's a gun laying on the street, you can go, I'm not going to mess with that. I'm going to call the cops.
Right.
Instead of going, oh, look, a gun, bang, you shoot your buddy. That stuff happens, and it's scary because it's basically like, you know, we're not going to talk about this. This is dad's thing. Don't touch it.
Yeah.
Because what's the first thing you do? Hey, don't touch that red button. You're like, this one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know, if it's one of the best ways that I ever heard it described was, you know, someone's like, hey, you want to, well, Dad, I want to know about the gun. I'm like, okay, take the gun, you know, make sure it's unloaded, ask questions. What do you want to know? They would do that. You know, obviously, you know, Dad comes home tired from work. He's not going to be super happy about it, but anytime the kid wanted to ask questions about the gun, all right, let's talk, this is how you hold it, this is how you this is how you do this. And eventually the kid became a very competent shooter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you could hide the gun in the dresser drawer and say, don't ever touch this.
Yep.
And then the kid's going to get curious one day when dad's not home and blow a hole through the wall.
Oh yeah. I think that's across the board. Think about all the programs we learn in school that said, don't do this. And what are they going to do?
And then you get caught smoking weed with a science teacher. Like,
oh, it's terrible.
That was me. That was me.
But no, yeah, I mean, curiosity is real. I mean, you can lock the guns up, right? That's like the end all be all, but you don't want to have to do that. And accidents, when accidents happen, it's because they can't pull the trigger with any of their fingers. They turn around and use their thumb.
Yep.
I teach that in my classes. So it's like, let's teach them how to respect the firearm. That's what's cool. But we'll get off the sad subject. Gun store. I really want to know your perspective on a lot of things. I absolutely hate going to gun stores. I love wanting to support gun stores. I would love to shop local. I really would, except for they're assholes to me. They are degrading towards me and they want to tell me what I need versus they don't even know the purpose of why I walked in there, right?
Yeah.
Why, like, how can people be better about that? Or how can people be, I don't know, gun owners or gun store owners be better? I don't even know where I'm going with this, but it's frustrating. So just share your thoughts.
So I see it from your perspective because I did it right as a kid, going in the gun store. Like, hey, can I look at that? I'm like, where's your dad? And then going on the other side of the counter and, you get the kid that comes in that watches every YouTube video on the planet and thinks that he knows how to make his M16 into a machine gun. Like, let's go ahead and cut that out. So you get a lot of kind of what I was talking about earlier. Hi, I'm, Joe Schmo off the street, and I want a Glock 27 with plus P ammo as my first handgun because my neighbor's a cop and he told me that's what I should buy. Like, don't do that. Like, terrible idea.
Right.
But then you get plenty of the people that don't want to have the conversation for the 12th time that day. So they go, yep, here you go, $700. Have a nice day. So I think it's a lack of, I wouldn't say a lack of, it's twofold. So on the people that come into the gun store, talk to people, do some research, look at some YouTube videos with a grain of salt, obviously, watch people who own the gun. Don't watch people who are sponsored by that company who own the gun.
Yeah.
If you want a CZ, go look, Google CZ P10 review.
Mm-hmm.
And look at the good ones and look at the bad ones.
Yeah.
And then come in and go, hey, I've been looking at a CZ P10C. Here you go, take a look at it. But you get the people that come in, oh, hey, I've never even seen a gun in real life. Like, I want to buy a gun. You're like, oh, perfect. Here we go. Because I've had that conversation 10 times this week and it's Tuesday.
Oh, wow. And
I always prided myself on asking the questions. You come in, you've never owned a gun before. Mm-hmm. Hi, I'm a 5'1", weigh 110 pounds, dripping wet, and I want a small gun, and ooh, that one's pretty because it's pink and silver. I should get that one. Like, do you plan on carrying the gun? Do you plan on shooting the gun a lot? What do you want to do with this thing? And you get these people that own gun stores because that's what they did after they retired from the military.
Yeah.
And don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
Especially for people like you that come in that actually know what you're talking about. And whether you want to come in and buy something, hey, I want that, strip receiver over there. And, oh, cool, I'll take some of that right there too.
Easy. But that's
easy.
Yeah.
Or you get the people that come in and have no intention of buying anything, but want to take up 2 hours of your time talking about, my uncle who fought in Korea, who told me this story, who taught me this story about this thing. Dude, I'm just trying to sit here and make my paycheck and just teach someone about guns. It's hard from my perspective because I pride myself on knowing so much about guns, but then you get the people that they're the keyboard warriors that come in and oh, well, I heard on the internet, I heard this. You're like, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. You can't really help the people that don't want to be helped, and they're not interested in anything you have to say.
Yeah.
So like the credibility factor is kind of gone, right? Because people don't know who, and we're not necessarily big people, right? Just people that are trying to learn and do the things. But yeah, it's frustrating on both sides of the counters. So I buy online.
Yeah. And that's another frustration, right? Is you get people that are trying to do awesome stuff that own really cool shops, that there's the people like you that buy things online because maybe they can't get them anywhere else.
Right.
Or you get the, jackwagon that comes in that buys a gun off Gunbroker, and I open the gun and it's a gun I have sitting in the case.
Yeah.
For the same price he paid. Yep. And now he's got to pay me the transfer tax, the state tax, and whatever fees.
Shipping. Yeah.
And shipping.
Yeah.
And then I go, hey man, you could have bought the gun from us and we would have made more money. For the same price. And he goes, oh, well, like,
yeah.
And that's one of those things that it's kind of like finding a good mechanic.
You have to search for it. Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone has that, oh, I bought a car that's got 12,000 miles on it, and whatever happens, and they want to charge me, they said I need new spark plugs and 50 my blown right rear brake rotor has gone from a $400 job to they want 10 grand to do all this stuff that doesn't need to be done.
Right.
You get the people that come in that most people aren't gun enthusiasts. Most people don't have 10 guns. They've got 2 or 1. And they come in once a year to buy some ammo and a target, say, thank you very much, have a good one. Or they go to Walmart or wherever. But if you want to foster that relationship, show up, buy stuff, even if it's more expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you know, I can go on Amazon and buy this set of earmuffs for $12 with free shipping, but it's $14.99 from the guy down the street. Go buy it from him.
Oh, I would love to. Yeah. I just haven't found enough bell here yet.
Yeah. And that was my struggle was I stopped working for the store I was working for. And I didn't really have a relationship with a shop anymore. And thankfully I found a guy who super cool. And if I want to transfer something, hey man, I got something headed your way. I'm like, cool, I'll tell you when it shows up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's unfortunately really hard to find.
Very hard to find. Yeah. I had one in Florida, and then I started working at a shop here. I will never support that shop ever again. But yeah.
We all know how that goes too, unfortunately.
I know. All right. We digressed again. But yeah, so there's pros and cons, and I don't know how to fix that. I don't know if we'll ever fix it, but for people listening that maybe work there, I don't know, try not to be condescending. And then on the flip side, maybe educate them on your expertise or on your credibility. So that way people do listen, because that's hard too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the harder part. Okay. So growing up, well, before we get into the Marine Corps, what was the biggest difference, or like the biggest, I guess, change from going from a junior shooter into an adult shooter?
Guns and ammo are really expensive. And
you have to make your own sandwich.
Like I said, I've had those experiences where I was the junior shooter getting everything paid for. And then I was the teenager still living at my parents' house. And, I eventually moved out. I, live with my wife now, and I can't go out and spend, a day traveling, 2 days at a match, a day traveling back, hotels, all this stuff. If I could do it 15 times a year, I would. And I don't know how some of these people do it. But, I was at a point where, like, I've got to stop shooting as much.
Yeah.
Because I really enjoy shooting. And especially coming out of working with gun shops is, I got to play with guns every single day.
Right.
Which is awesome, but it also kind of sucked because, I would get on my day off and be like, really, do I really want to go out to the range? I can just go to work and dry fire. So I one of the biggest things for me was just, I say it a lot to people just in my general life, is like, real life gets in the way of real life.
Yeah.
Like, I can't spend every single cent I have mail ordering ammo and all the cool parts, because I have to pay my car payment and pay my rent and have a little bit of money in the bank in case something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And, it would be great if I could, go eat every meal at my parents' house and save a couple $100 a month on groceries. You just can't do it. So understanding that hobbies are hobbies, I've got pretty expensive hobbies. I collect whiskey, I shoot, I play golf a little bit, which is even harder than shooting.
Yeah. I hate golf.
Just the realization that, it'd all be pretty cool if we were sponsored by, SIG or someone like that, and they literally wrote me a paycheck.
Yeah.
But it's at a point, it's just not going to happen. You have to understand that I do this for fun, and that's what it needs to be. Talking about what you talked about pressure earlier, is it's really easy to go, what the hell am I doing? I just spent $3,000 to fly across the country to go to a match, all this ammo, hotels and food and rental cars.
Oh yeah.
And I placed 50th.
Yep.
What am I doing? And I've done that. I've done it before, just driving home on the plane, flying home from Virginia after a match, beating myself up. Like literally contemplating selling all my guns.
Oh, I'm sure everyone's been there. Yeah.
I just don't know why I could sell all my guns and just play golf and never have to spend any more money on golf clubs ever again. But I enjoy shooting.
Yeah.
And it's something that, I talk about baseball and all those things. It's something, shooting's the only thing I've ever always come back to.
That's awesome.
So it's really easy to get into that mindset that, hey, this is really cool, I'm just gonna go out and shoot every weekend. But sometimes you gotta turn the dial back and realize that, you might want to pick up an overtime shift.
There you go. I mean, did you work with any people as a junior, or have any sponsors as a junior that you, I guess, kept as an adult, or worked with any of them, later?
I wasn't really sponsored by anyone when I was trap shooting, just because that's kind of a weird.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're sponsored by a big company like Winchester or Remington, or some of the smaller, or not really smaller, but some of the boutique like Krieghoff, Perazzi, Caesar Guerini, all these companies that make really, really expensive shotguns, you don't really get sponsorships. Our range let us shoot for free when we were practicing for the national championship. So I guess you could call that a sponsorship. But my first actual sponsor was a company that I'm still with, Frog Lube.
Oh, cool.
And, just another one of those weird gun stories. I saw a match on Shooting USA. It was the NRA World. Well, it wasn't the NRA World Shooting Championship at that point, but it was what is now the NRA World Shooting Championship.
Cool. Okay.
Which is super cool because you show up at the match with your backpack with your water in it, ears and eyes, and you walk up to the stage, and guns and ammo are provided. Yeah. So they go, hey, here's your pistol. You're going to be shooting, plate rack. Okay, cool. Bang, 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 bang. Cool. Thanks. Bye. The next stage is something completely different. So when I went out there, I met a guy who was working the Frog Lube booth. Hey, come check out our products, kind of standard stuff. And he lives in Reno, Nevada.
Nice.
5-6 years later, the store I got a job at, he was my coworker.
Oh, neat. It all comes full circle.
Yeah. So,
and it's a very small community. People don't realize that.
He got me connected with Frog Lube, my first sponsor, and I ended up working with him. So, that's one of those things. It's all kind of interconnected. And I can call people, I don't like referring to them as sponsors. It's more friends and partners at this point. I've been sponsored by Frog Lube since 2015.
Nice.
So, they don't pay me, but, if I needed something, I could text them and say, hey, can you, go ahead and send me this? Sure.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat some of those, the more personal things where you actually know the people's name.
Yeah, I agree. And that they know your name too. I know a lot of companies I've talked to, they're like, we have a shooter named what? I'm like, okay. Never mind.
Bye. Yeah.
Like that's happened twice this year where they didn't know their own sponsored people. I was like, that's not good.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Okay, so moving on in life. All right, junior adult, cool. You graduate from high school and then you went into the Marine Corps. So what did you do there? And then how did you end up on their shooting team or the reserve shooting team?
Yeah, so most people don't know the Marine Corps has a reserve, which they do. Every branch does. So I joined the Marine Corps Reserve. I did logistics, so kind of the boring part of the logistics, the paperwork side, which was okay. I mean, it was a good unit, but every Marine is a rifleman. So every year we would go out and we would do our rifle range. And luck be luck, one of the instructors who came out to help run our range was one of the guys who runs the Marine Corps Reserve shooting team.
Okay.
And me being a gun guy, military shooting ranges are pretty boring. So we were shooting 25-yard, just silhouette outline paper targets. There's two side by side. Shoot the left one twice and shoot the right one twice. You shoot the right one twice and you reload and go to a knee and shoot the left one. So easy. This is dumb. So I kind of started to mess around. Most military guys are not the best shooters. So
yeah,
I, put a little bit of speed on and reload and, pressing out and C-clamping the rifle. And most people in the military hold the rifle by the
right
mag.
at the mag. Yeah.
And let the bang, bang, reload, bang. And the guy walks up behind me and goes, "You shoot a lot, don't you?" Yeah. He's like, blah, 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 blah. He's like, I want to talk to you later. Okay. Walk up. He's like, "What's your name?" Introduce myself. He hands me a card with his email written on it. He's like, "Email me after this. I want to." Okay. And turns out he's one of the guys who runs the shooting team.
Oh, wow.
So I got invited to go to one of their classes as a student, which me as a student was me sitting here taking notes and one of them standing like right there, always kind of watching, right?
Yeah.
And then I got invited back as an assistant instructor.
Cool.
Teaching classes, working the range, working with students. And then I don't know if it was luck or they're trying to flesh out my skill. They actually let me shoot the Three Gun Nation Nationals.
Oh, cool.
I was there. So they dropped me off orders. I got to drive down there, shoot, and then come back.
Where was it at that time? Where was the Nationals?
That was in VIR, Virginia International Raceway.
Okay.
That was the one. I want to say it was 2016 or 2017, but the whole range got like 36 inches of rain, and they had to throw out half the match. And then the river flooded, so we had to go all the way around. It took us like 5 hours to get back. Yeah, it was.
Oh, heck no.
No. But kind of weird shooting community thing. I think most anyone who knows the three gun or action shooting community knows who the Yackleys are.
Oh yeah,
So
love them.
Becky, Tim, Andrew.
Becky's my fave.
Dawn. Oh yeah, she's awesome. Her husband, Mark, is in the Marine Corps.
Yep.
He is a lieutenant colonel. He is the commanding officer of the Marine Corps Reserve shooting team.
So cool. Yep.
I did not know that. And he comes walking up. I'm like, I know who that guy is. And the shooting team is kind of this weird thing. It's not actually an official job. Okay. You don't get a letter that says like, "Welcome to the United States Marine Corps shooting team." You don't. The marksman, the AMU, the Army Marksmanship Unit, that is your job.
Right.
Like you sign for, I am a member of the Army Marksmanship Unit. The Marine Corps shooting team is all basically a handshake. So I got the handshake, like congratulations, welcome. And really what their focus isn't competing. competing's good because it builds your skills and you learn new stuff. And you learn new stuff in a way you can't really learn anywhere else other than competitive shooting or really getting shot at.
Yeah, I was going to say on the clock, pressure. Yeah.
The second one is way less desirable because you don't really learn much when you're getting shot at, which I've never been shot at, so I can't personally attest to, but never been shot at in combat.
There's a story.
There is. But we're instructors. So I got taught how to teach people how to shoot.
Okay.
So I'm not teaching you how to shoot. I'm teaching you how to teach other people how to shoot.
Nice. Okay.
So I was one of, 40 people who were teaching people how to teach people how to shoot.
Cool.
And it was very cool. It's hard to underestimate the amount of knowledge people have. Because like someone walks up and goes, hey, I have this question. You're like, I don't know that, but that guy right over there has won dozens of medals nationally for precision rifle, and he will know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Or that guy over there is a distinguished pistol marksman, and he knows the answer to the question. There's just so much based knowledge that you will never accrue anywhere else. I mean,
yeah,
the biggest firearms company in the world can never pay all of these guys to learn all this stuff because the military has way more money.
Yeah.
You can get, I've been on a range, we shot 43,000 rounds of 5.56 in one day.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Which means how many people?
60.
That's ridiculous. Sign me up.
I've shot any military firearm you can think of, I've shot. So
Cool.
You can't do that as a civilian. You can't go out and say, I'm going to shoot, 200 rounds of armor piercing 50 cal out of an M2 machine gun. You'd never be able to afford it.
Well, not just that, but it's so sad. I should be able to.
You should, absolutely. But, and you can bring these skills into the civilian world. We talked about, lightweight bolt carrier groups and muzzle brakes and downloading your ammo. So I can sit here, bang, 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 all day.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. But then you give a guy an M14 that's 308, and he takes that same stance and goes bang and rocks back on his heels.
Yeah.
Okay. Drive the gun.
Yeah, different gun.
and it would be real fun to do that when people weren't paying attention and you just flip their selector onto full auto. And they go, not expecting it. Because they go, oh yeah, this is easy. Bang, bang, bang. But then they go,
Totally
all right,
experience. Yeah.
Now I need to probably lean into this thing a little bit more. Yep. And even if you're not shooting anything full auto, leaning into that thing a little bit more is probably a good idea. So you get these different skill bases that some people won't ever get anywhere else.
Yep.
But that's also dangerous because you get the people that Uncle Joe's was in the Army, and he told me that in 1986 when he went through boot camp, this is how they taught him to shoot.
Oh yeah.
Like I've been on military shooting ranges, so everyone there knows I introduce myself. This is who I am. These are my qualifications. This is what I'm here to do. I'm here to help you get better. Walk up, bang, bang, bang. I'm like, hey man, try this. Nope, that's how they taught me in, 18 years ago when I went through the class. Like, good luck with that, man.
Yeah, it's frustrating. And there's a lot of habits that come out of that. So when you do become a civilian, there's a lot of stuff they have to relearn too.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them, but okay. So what did you do as far as like on the shooting team? Did y'all travel and shoot matches? You said you teach a lot. Like, what did that whole thing look like? And how long were you on there?
I was on the team for 3 years. Unfortunately, one of those years was kind of in limbo because they didn't give us really any money. So the primary job was instruction. So if a unit in Topeka, Kansas says, hey, we don't have any range coaches, they call us up and say, hey, who's available this weekend? Fly us out, and we would run their range with them.
Cool.
We did do competitions. So I did 3 with them, actually 4. Kentucky, Texas, Virginia, and West Virginia. So that was awesome. I got paid to go out and shoot. I mean, and it's hard to beat getting a free plane ticket, money, get picked up in a rental car to go out and to shoot.
Yeah, fed and ammo. And did you bring your own guns, or did they supply that too?
So they were all our own guns,
Cool.
which is weird because traditionally people think military, you're not supposed to have your own stuff. So that was a real trick to work out with as well. That was kind of some weird legal jumbling. But yeah, it was all of our own equipment. So we didn't have, we weren't shooting M9s and stuff like that.
I'd rather have my own, I think, anyways.
Yeah, definitely. But our primary job was instruction. So there's a 2-week class every year that they bring reservists from all over the country, and even out, in Guam and places like this that have reserve units, to teach them how to teach others.
Cool. Okay.
So all the instructors would get together every year for 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks, a couple days in the front, a couple days in the back, and then 2 weeks every year to teach. There were about 90 to 95 students to teach them how to become instructors. So we would man that class, and it was the only class in the military that is solely taught by reservists.
Neat. Okay.
And there was another class that was teaching those students how to become teachers of teachers. So you have a coach who teaches marksmanship, and you have a trainer who teaches the coach.
Okay.
So, there's like those 3 levels of hierarchy.
Right.
So there's, Joe Schmo, who goes out and shoots once a year. There's the coach, whose job it is to teach him. And then there's the trainer, whose job it is to teach the coach.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. It's kind of like you're passing down information so nobody loses that information.
Yeah, and it was really cool because I was in a time where, if you spend enough time around military guys, you'll hear the term, you're taught by the last war. So all the knowledge that we have for our training is from Vietnam and World War II, and kind of sprinkling into the first Gulf War. Yeah. Which, if you know anything about Vietnam, it doesn't really look like Afghanistan or Iraq. So, we're still in this traditional mindset of, especially with the traditional marksmanship, Camp Perry stuff, national match stuff of shooting the targets that come up and then come back down. And that's very, very old traditional knowledge. Yeah. But if you try to teach a Marine how to reverse kneel behind a barricade, it doesn't click. If you try to teach a Marine how to transition between 2 guns with 2 hands, no, not. So, I understand that, I can do certain things, but trying to teach it is very difficult. So, we were in at a point where they were trying to get a new marksmanship style. So we were going into teaching people how to transition between guns, teaching people how to, use barricades and transition sides so you could use barricades in other ways, shoot off rooftops, things like this, that unless you've seen it done, if I could be like, hey, go shoot off that rooftop, and you're like, okay, and you're standing up on the roof, shooting over the crest of the roof. I'm like, no, get behind it. Yeah. So, getting that knowledge out there is really important. And the Marine Corps is actually, in the last, I want to say 6 months, has implemented a new marksmanship program.
Yeah, they did away with a couple. Well, I don't know if you heard Matt Gunlack came on the show as
Mhm.
well.
Yep.
And talked about like the things that he changed because they're outdated as well. You know, a lot of the competition has changed. And I've been shooting with that team now cross country. They'll be in Great Lakes next weekend or whatever, 2 weeks. But they shoot a lot of weekend all over the country. So
Yeah.
now they're keeping up with the times. And like you said, it is applicable, maybe not all of it, right? Some of those awkward positions, learning your gun, your dopes, like knowing a lot of that. I mean, it's important across the board, not just military, but that's pretty cool. So how did that help? Like on the shooting team, coming out of there and then going into 3-gun or competing, like how did all of that kind of compound to, I know how good you are as a shooter, to doing all the things?
It definitely gave me the knowledge background to more adequately explain what was going on. So
Yeah.
I mean, when I was on the trap team, the senior guys would go and help the junior guys, right?
Mhm.
But I'm a like 17-year-old kid. I don't know how to explain things. You know, I barely know what's going on in my own head. So,
Well, and I was gonna say real quick too, some people can't teach it even though they're like super good at it, right?
yeah, absolutely. So,
Learn.
you know, you get these people that have no idea what they're talking about, but they were, you know, oh, I was in this unit, so I'm going to become an instructor.
Mhm.
Like, okay, cool. I got classes on how to teach people, which is pretty uncommon. So,
Right.
you know, just being able to more adequately explain, like, hey, I get what you're doing, but try it this way.
Mhm.
And then once again, just going through some of those, you know, unique situations that I would have been experienced. You know, carrying guns for long amounts of time.
Ugh.
You know,
Yeah.
not very many people do that because they don't have to. You know, wearing armor, shooting, standing up out of the back of a vehicle that's moving. You know, you can, not to say that that's applicable to 3-gun because it's definitely not, but unless you shot the 3-man 3-gun where you shot out of the back of a golf cart, because that was fun.
I shot out the back of a Jeep at Memorial. That was really cool. And I made the pistol shot from the back of the van moving. That was like really hard at the last second. People were like, how'd you do that? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was cool.
But that's, I mean, you know, that's not the same thing, but like, hey, I can take this skill that I learned and, you know, add this little piece of knowledge that I have and put it here where, you know, you get a lot of people that will take, you know, they go out and take 2 or 3 pistol classes and then they think they know everything there is to know about shooting pistol.
Yes.
But you can combine that, you know, the military background and the civilian background and push them together. You're going to get a lot more knowledge than this is all my military stuff and the civilian stuff doesn't matter, or this is all the civilian stuff and the military stuff doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like it or not, military guys don't get to shoot a lot.
No.
But I was one of the lucky ones that got to shoot a lot.
Yep.
Same thing with police officers, right? You know, you get these people that, you know, oh, this is how I was taught when I went through the police academy 15 years ago. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I shoot twice a year for quality.
It's horrible. Like it hurts me to know that should be like 90% of their job. That's what protects them. Like they don't know how to use, not even that, but even the non-lethals. I have a lot of people in law enforcement that I love. And I'm like, you need to be out of the range. Like I know it's out of your own pocket, but like, I'll take you, let's go. And I have done that for even EMS workers, you know, even though they can't have firearms, maybe that one day they will. I'm like, you know, if you run across a gun, you need to use it. You need to know how to use it.
Yeah. Or what happens if you find a bad guy that's ODing and he's got a gun on him?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and it's just, like you said, is all those different skill sets that are put together. You get a lot of people that will completely, I did a video on this a couple days ago, that'll completely discount what you have to say because, you know, oh, I was in the military, or you were in the military, so I'm not going to listen to what you have to say because you were brainwashed.
Yeah.
And I've had both. Yeah. And you know, you get the people that just expect you to be regurgitating knowledge rather than like, I had a guy that I definitely didn't get along with, who the shooter was shooting just fine, making good hits, 4s and 5s. but was kind of in a weird position. And the guy starts going up and messing with him. And he starts shooting 2s and 3s. I'm like, hey man, why'd you screw with that guy? Well, that's not the way that they teach it. Like, okay, was he doing anything unsafe? Well, no. So how was it wrong?
Right.
You know, I always, once again, equating this to things people know. I don't know anything about plumbing. I'm not going to stand behind the plumber I hired and go, yeah, no, I would do that the other way.
Yeah.
I don't know. You get so many people that have so many different mindsets, especially coming from, one of my least favorite and most favorite terms, FUD lore. Little guns are better for women.
Ugh. You can't shoot 12 gauges either.
45 is the best caliber. All these things that are so ingrained in some people because that's the way that we're taught.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Break the mold, come up with a new idea. Everything. This is one of my favorite things about Jerry Mitchell is he said several times, recorded, the only reason he does what he does is because he hasn't found a better way to do it. Mm-hmm. If he woke up yet tomorrow and figured out that jumping up and down on a pogo stick was more efficient,
he would do it.
He would do it.
Yep. And he'll ask you stage plans because he's like, hey, what are your stage plan? Right. And like, he's genuinely asking you, well, I'm gonna do it this way. Cause he's trying to figure out if it's faster, if it's better, if he didn't see something. Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It is. And I've shot with Jerry on a squad for a 3-day match. And that was a very, very cool experience because like you said, he actually asks and he'll watch you walk around.
Yep.
And on that same squad was a guy that is a fantastic pistol shooter. And he's one of those guys that would go, stage will take about 27 seconds. How'd you just do that? And then someone would go up and shoot it in, 28-30. Well, I know this, if a plate rack from this long will take about that and then moving over here will take about 2.5 seconds. Like, I can't do that, but he's done it so many times.
Yeah.
That it all just, just ticks up and he's got it.
Yep. That's pretty cool.
I'm not that good at math.
Oh, there's something I was going to ask about that. Oh, okay. Let's talk about social media. Even though I didn't really want to bring that up too much. Okay, social media. So how do people look for expertise or knowledge or credibility on social media?
I think this has been brought to light by a lot of people. Editing is a thing. So kind of the more common one is like Dude Perfect, right? Mm-hmm. Throws a basketball behind his head 50 feet, makes it in. That wasn't the first time he tried it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've done it too. You're gonna demonstrate something you do with the reload. And like, all right, well, we're gonna start over and do it. Hey, I did it perfectly.
Yeah.
But once again, kind of like I said about the CZ, searching for CZ and you look at the good reviews and the bad reviews, just kind of take the flavor of the video. Does it look too good to be true? Does it look like an infomercial? Does it look like someone's just showing off?
Right.
I've been criticized for some of my videos that I put up, like, oh, you're talking too much. That's how you explain things.
Yeah.
Like, is doing something. What if you have a question and you could answer it in the 30 seconds of talking?
Yeah.
Instead of you having to put it in the comments and hope I respond. And I've only got like 2,500 followers. Imagine the people that have 400,000 and get hundreds of comments a day.
Yeah.
They'll never respond.
Yeah.
So look at the people who do things because they want to do them, not, people that are, I've been pretty critical of people like Hickok 45, IV 88, just because they're given guns.
Yeah.
probably not going to say a whole lot of bad stuff about them. Any gun I review, I own.
Yeah.
Unless specifically this is borrowed. And I'll usually tag the person who let me borrow the gun.
Yep. Me too.
So
not my gun, not my optic. I have no idea. I'm just telling you what I did.
Yeah. I bought some weird little single shot 9mm thing that sucks hard. And I'm kind of thankful the company doesn't have an Instagram, because I would have tagged him in the video.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's not comfortable to shoot. It's kind of scary. But I bought it. It was like $105, which isn't expensive, but I still paid for that myself.
Yeah.
And if someone searched that, they go, oh, well, he said it's kind of cool. It's a cool little thing. Yeah. But it's also not awesome to shoot. Like, if it's, glowing review from point A to the end, it might be something you might want to take with a grain of salt. Or if it's, this is steaming piles of whatever. I've had bad experiences with guns that I would tell you never to purchase.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you could buy one, it could be fine.
Right. Yeah. The other thing that people don't do, and I'll just say my 2 things on that, is look up practice score. So you see all these runs, right? Paper. You see the raw time maybe at the end. Mm-hmm. You didn't know that they just blew past 17 targets, right? I just get so frustrated. And I've been at that match and I've seen those videos and I'm like, and you can't be that person that says anything. But hey, if you look on your phone, you go to that person competitor, you can see that they placed last on that stage, but they just posted that run because they did it for the gram.
Look good.
So frustrating. And the other piece, I won't name, you'll already know. Think of a range that has every single piece of steel size out there, right? Okay. If you shoot anywhere, you're gonna hit something that dings, right? So think about what people are shooting at and how far away it is. It's so frustrating.
Yeah. One of my favorite stories from history is, if you think of this guy's just a badass, right? He's a gunfighter. It's Doc Holliday, right? Yep. There is a documented event that he went to a shooting match and placed dead last.
Huh.
So you think this guy, oh man, this guy's a gunfighter and he's a badass and he, flips his pistol around and does all this goofy stuff and he's in Tombstone. It was super awesome. Mm-hmm. Dead last. But then you also have guys like Wild Bill Hickok, who was known for being an exceptional marksman. Mm-hmm. But what do you think of when you think of Wild Bill Hickok? You think of a traveling sideshow.
Yeah.
And then you think of, these guys who were gunfighters who were kind of more just drunk, bumbling idiots than gunfighters.
Yep. It's interesting. So anyways, on that, go look up practice score. Going back to the teaching to wrap that up, as a firearms instructor in general, what do you wish more people knew about firearms? And what do you think like both civilians and military and law enforcement or whatever could do to kind of work together to, improve?
What I wish people knew more is that firearms don't have morals. I'm not religious. I don't believe in spirituality or any of that stuff. But like you said earlier, guns are tools.
Yeah.
So if I had a wrench, the wrench is not evil. If I hit someone with it, it's still not evil. Mm-hmm. If I accidentally hit someone with my car doesn't become cursed. Mm-hmm. It's not dangerous. A firearm is a tool.
Yep.
It might be a different kind of tool, but it is a tool, whether you're using it for personal protection or a job or hunting or sport. So it would be the same thing as saying, like, oh, I cut myself with my kitchen knife, so I'm going to throw it away and get another one. It's silly.
Or never use it again, or never use it. Yeah, I'm sure you have a gun laying around right now, like fully loaded, like mine. Yeah, and it hasn't gone off.
Oh. Yeah. And once again, people come in to the gun shop. I've never owned a gun before, and they're shaking.
Yeah.
Shaking. I'm like, hey, you ever driven a car? Yeah. you're way more statistically likely to get hurt in a car than with a gun.
Oh, big time. Or airplane, or even a shark. Like, yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm like, of course it does. Because the first time you chopped an onion, you didn't know how to do it. But now if you've been chopping onions for 15 years, you're probably pretty good at it.
Yeah.
So when I pull a gun out of a case and flip it around and lock the slide open without even looking at it, you go, oh man, you're so good at handling guns. It's like, yeah, because I've been doing it for 20 years.
And every day of my life.
Yep.
Every day of my life. I like that.
As for the second question, what people could do more is just twofold. So share knowledge. If you hold knowledge to yourself, you're a jerk.
Yep.
So my entire existence I have in the shooting world is to share knowledge.
Yep.
Whether that be someone just had a bad stage, so I tell them a joke to make them feel better, or hey, don't do that because it's not safe or not efficient. Try it this way. And the second one is to be willing to admit that either you don't know or you were wrong.
Oh my gosh, say it louder one more time. What?
You can be wrong. So bringing up Jerry again, the reason he does what he does is because he hasn't found a better way. But what that also means is he used to do it a different way, but now he found a new way.
Yeah. So,
sure, I can shoot left-handed, but I know that if I shoot right-handed, I'm a lot better. So I'm probably going to shoot right-handed.
Yeah.
Like the Weaver stance works, but not as well as modified at modern isosceles.
Yeah.
So if you come up, this is one of my favorite questions in like a job interview. What happens if you don't know the answer to the question? Like, I don't know, but I'll find out.
There you go.
Because the gun world, at one point, everything was made up. Like John Browning invented the pistol slide. And someone had to figure out how to pull it back and let it go.
Yeah.
And then someone figured out that you can insert the magazine and press the slide step.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone figured out that you can insert a magazine and rack it with the webbing in your hand. Like, that wasn't all just like John Browning invented the pistol slide, then all of this knowledge just appeared. Like, someone had to do it the first time. So that's not a bad thing. Just because you don't know doesn't mean you're wrong.
Right. It's the ego. They don't want to admit it. And I do it all the time. Like, I don't know. I'm going to find out. I have 7,000 people in the gun industry that I will find out.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. Yeah. I love it. I want to go into 3-gun a little bit. This is like my favorite. You have some cool matches out there. What was the first 3-gun competition you shot, first of all?
It was in 2015. And I did I know what? I don't think I knew what practice score was. Or it was even a thing.
Right.
So I searched and I found a 3-gun match. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So lo and behold, there's a club 30 minutes from my old house that I could have gone and shot at. But I drove like 3 hours on a Friday after work, got down there, hotel, the whole thing, and then shot. It was kind of cool because it was a little 2-day match, but shot Saturday and Sunday and then drove home. I'm like, oh, that just must be how it is, right? And, I had a bone stock Glock 34. I didn't even change the sights.
Oh.
And, the first pistol I ever shot, I didn't know what looking at a front sight was.
So many people still don't.
I actually remember when it clicked, and I can't remember what I was working at the gun shop, and I was dry firing, and I was looking at the target, and then something like, I don't know if there was like a speck of dust or something on the front sight, and I was like, oh, that's what that means. But I went down there and I had a great time.
Oh.
And I was like, yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks. I had to drive 3 hours to do it, but it was really fun. But that was my base, right? I mean, base knowledge. Then I found practice score, and I found the Richmond club where I went to shoot, and all these different, met all these different guys that I could go out and shoot with. And then being on the team, I've, going into Texas and Oklahoma and all these different things.
That's awesome. And then nationals, 3-gun nationals. Yeah. What was your, do what?
That was an interesting match.
I couldn't do that 6-hour reroute. The rain, man. Have you ever been to a match that doesn't rain? I don't know. I have like been to 1 out of 8,000 matches where it's not raining.
Pretty unfortunate.
Yeah. What's your favorite match you've ever been to?
The Vortex Shooter Source 3-gun.
Okay.
That was a match with the shooting team. It was super, super awesome because it was like big boy rules. And if you were shooting long range, you could have your team members on scope calling hits.
Oh, that's cool.
And calling corrections.
Right.
And like, there's you, the person filming you, and like 2 more people behind you, and you're like, you know, shooting your pistol, you know, shit out of ammo, and someone would like hand you a mag.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Helping matches are so cool.
It was just, and they were the Marine Corps guys. So like, you know, one of the guys was just super good at long range. So you'd shoot 1 round, you know, and you'd go, you know, left edge, 3-inch up, bang, hit.
That's so cool.
It was so much fun because it was just, that was the attitude. It was just like, go out there and have fun. Yeah. Where instead of, you know, going out there and shooting like crap and beating yourself up.
Yeah. I just think that I get that there's people that I understand why it's competition, right? They want to win, they should win, blah, blah, blah. I don't think I'll ever be a pro, but like shooting at helping matches, like the pro-am stuff style was really fun. But like you said, having people be able to hand you ammo. I don't know if you've listened to the podcast with Rob that I did. Josh Tarrant just picks up his like shotgun rig that had fallen and literally is holding it for him to load the ground. Because it's not fun to go all the way to the match. You have one opportunity to shoot that one stage, maybe your entire life, right? And you can't because you left ammo on the ground or it fell off. Like, come on. Yeah. I get it. But it's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the team match was fun. That was kind of a weird experience because one of our guys got DQ'd. There were 3 guys on the team, so we had to shoot the last 2 stages with just us 2.
Oh, shoot.
And I was like, well, I'm going to just go for glory on this thing and just burned, like, I just heroed it, just connected with everything, couldn't miss, and like turned around, was just like, you know, just fist pumps and high fives and everything. And it was like, that was awesome, except for we couldn't win because one of our guys got DQ'd.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Have you ever DQ'd? How do you not know?
No, I have not. I have almost. I dumped my rifle into a dump box and it fell out, but it didn't hit the ground. That was at Safariland one year. And then 2 times when I was trap shooting, I AD'd into the ground.
Was it far enough away? Is that what they did?
There are no safety rules.
Oh, good.
As long as you don't turn around with a loaded gun, you can't get disqualified from a trap match. Like you could be, I mean, I'm sure you could, but I've never seen it.
Okay.
So I'm talking about, you know, like full space cadet sitting there, not even paying attention, put my finger on the trigger and just boom. Like, and it's just like, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and load another shell up here. And
so
that was kind of weird for sure, because I mean, it definitely rattled me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think I'm done.
You get all red in the face. You're like, oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. And so then so 3-gun was your thing, and you shoot a little bit of USPSA?
I do. Mainly more as practice and just to go out and shoot than anything else. But
yeah,
I've got a PCC that I need to pull out and shoot.
It's fun. I just dropped a trigger on mine today.
Yeah, I won an upper, so I was like, well, I can't not put one together. So.
Yeah. Hey, they're good rifle. I'm shooting NRL 22 to practice positional. PCC will be movement and put it together.
There you go.
So wrapping up,
Yeah.
What does the shooting scene look like where you're at, and how could someone get involved with anything shooting wise that they want to do besides what you said at the beginning, you know, going out and watching?
So we mentioned it before, practice score. If you're not familiar with it, you can search by name. So type in the name of your city. And you can also search on a map, which is awesome. Watch YouTube videos, figure out what kind of match you want to shoot. And even if you don't have any intention of shooting it, go out and watch. Pick a squad, follow them around, see what they're doing, ask someone a question, you know, be nice, say hi, you know, I'm Austin, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I might want to do this, you know. Someone will tell you what's going on.
Yeah. Oh, and if you don't like the squad or you don't like the person, just go to a different squad.
Yeah, just move.
Just talk to someone else. They don't all represent us.
Yes. Instagram, social media is good. You can, I mean, I tag a lot of my videos with Reno or, you know, whatever location. Search, you know, search the type of match you want to find. And especially a lot of the smaller channels, if you message me, I will message you back.
Yeah, that's how we connected.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not going to message you back if you say, hi, I want to, you know, I want you to sell me a gun, but I live in France. Like, that's not going to happen, because I've had that happen to me.
Of course.
But if you go, hi, I'm, you know, Jake from Las Vegas, and I found your video and I'm really curious. I know someone in Vegas that will take you out to a match.
Yeah.
Or I will post on whatever group on Facebook. I have a guy in, you know, Topeka, Kansas, who wants to shoot a match. Who will take him?
Exactly.
And someone will take you.
Yep.
And, you know, even like I said, even if you have no equipment, just go out and watch.
Yeah.
There's plenty of videos of, you know, the bare minimum equipment you need to shoot a match, or trap, or two gun, or whatever it might be.
And we're not, as a community, doesn't matter what it is, what sport, what discipline, we're not going to let gear hold you back. 100%. Like, that's the worst excuse you can have. We're not going to let it. We have enough. Yeah. Don't feel bad about borrowing, I think, is the other tip I would leave for people.
Definitely. I mean, obviously, and then, but that brings up, you know, be courteous. I think more people are common of this is, you know, your first match, you're not going to do well.
No.
So go out and be safe and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
If you see everyone else doing something like resetting, you probably want to do that too. Or picking up brass at the end of the day, or.
And if you borrow his gun, go ahead and clean it for him too. No.
Yeah. Or offer to take him to dinner.
Yeah.
Or buy him a 6-pack of beer, or something.
Exactly. You know, we don't want cash. We just want you to be around. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's awesome. And then do you want to share what you do for a living, since a lot of people don't know what different people do?
Sure. I actually just got a new job, which I start tomorrow.
Congrats.
Thank you. So I will be doing logistics, which kind of a common theme. So just shipping and receiving. I'm in the Nevada Air National Guard, which I also do logistics, but that's on aircraft, which is a little bit more exciting.
Yeah.
So still carried through with my military service. So still doing that, which is fun.
Thanks for everything you do. Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah.
And so what's next for you in terms of shooting?
I just shot my first match in over a year, which was awesome. That was a rifle only match. So my new job, I'm just going to try to get set there, and then I should have Saturdays off. So I will try to shoot some local matches. So it's going to be USPSA and multi-gun mostly.
You know, if you get to the two-gun match, the Cobalt, did you see that is scheduled in December?
I've heard it's pretty cool.
Dude, you would crush it.
I've heard it's legit.
You would crush it. So put that on your list.
Yeah, I'll try. I definitely want to get to. I would always try to do 2 or 3 a year, and I'm with everything going on, I'm trying to get back to that for sure.
Yeah, but if you play with PCC, I mean, you can do rifle pistol or PC pistol, but
yeah.
Okay, Austin, any final thoughts you want to leave listeners with?
Shooting is supposed to be fun. So don't take yourself too seriously. Always be willing to learn stuff, but then again, also be willing to teach someone something. You know, I learn a lot more by teaching people than I ever did by being instructed.
Yep.
So someone's going to ask a question and they go, I've never been asked that before. And it's going to make me think about something in a different way. And that's always a good thing. Even if you don't agree with it, that's always a good thing. I
love it. Good advice. And any shout outs you want to give to, like you said, sponsors or people, you know, that support you?
Obviously my parents, we talked about that a lot. My wife, Emily, who deals with me dry firing in the living room. And then, you know, all the companies that I've dealt with, Vortex, like they're awesome. Vortex, awesome people. Frog Loop, CMC, Dark Systems, Vortex. And then just the cool people that I've met, you know, the guys from Trailblazer Firearms, or my cup here, just so many of those cool people, like I said, you know, meeting you that, you know, they can see each other once a year and high five and go have a beer. And it's hard to beat that community.
It is. Yeah. And do a podcast every now and then.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If you shoot a match later this year, we'll do another episode talking about like a breakdown of a match or something.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so how can people follow you on social media? And then do you have a website as well?
I don't. I've always thought about making one, but it's kind of one of those things that is grand plans and then everything goes away. I post every once in a while on YouTube, which I want to get back to, which is just 3 Gun Austin. Pretty much everything's 3 Gun Austin, which AUSTIN, the normal spelling. There is another guy with my same name, so I'm not a junior shooter anymore. I am this guy. So
I learned that this weekend though.
Yeah. So just 3 Gun Austin on Instagram. I have a Facebook, but it's mostly just reposted stuff. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Thanks for sharing knowledge. And go follow Austin, ask him questions.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Reticle Up podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Follow along on social media at Reticle Up or 3 Gun Kenzie.